From the combined crew of blindandroidusers.com and accessibleandroid.com, it's time for your favorite Android podcast. Kick back now and enjoy another fine episode from these Android fanboys and gals as they navigate Android from a blindness perspective. And now, here's your crew. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 132 of the Blind Android Users podcast. We're recording on June the 17th. I can't believe we've torn through this month, and I'm Warren Carr alongside with my great co-hosts. We got that boy out there in the swamp. I'm talking about John somewhere on that Chesapeake Bay in Virginia. Is it swampy out there, John? Nah. But John, John, is it swampy?
No, I don't live. There's swamps nearby, but it's not swampy in my neighborhood.
So we got John out there in the swamps. Not really. And then, of course, Doug Cameron is recovering from the fires. And I hope no more blazes going up out there in Canada. And our friend, Sally Kundas, drying out from that Samsung rain that he was in, the village of Samsung or town of Samsung. I hope I'm pronouncing that city right. Of course, we got Fee, who complains about the heat in London. 26 degrees is not bad, Fee, so stop crying about it. And Austin, of course, always in the heat. That's what's going on. We got you guys covered. We focus on the recent feature drop that comes to us if you're on Android 13. And if you're not in the QPR program, you also get that feature drop. And that's the June feature drop on Pixel phones. And we'll talk a little bit about what happened with Android 14 Beta 3.1. And then we have the CSR entry, and we save the best for the last. And that's our Talkback highlights. John will be bringing us those Talkback highlights today. That's what we've got coming up for you in this episode. So, guys, let's get going. Doug, is it still burning in Canada, or are you guys recovered?
Oh no, we're still burning. I believe most regions in Alberta have been allowed to go back home. I don't believe we have. I think we have only one fire that's currently actively risking the town that's nearby. Yeah. Other than that, we're still burning pretty bad out in Quebec. I think John may actually have had some of our smoke from down there in Virginia for a few days. So
we did actually. We had the windows open, and I was like, "What is burning?" Literally, could smell smoke just because I had my windows open. I was like, "I better close these." Yeah, it was such a nice day too.
It went out that far south, huh?
Oh yeah,
wow.
Like there's actually a map that was actively showing the spread of the smoke from Canada, and it was going down as far as southern Florida. It was bad. So hopefully they're getting those fires out in Quebec under control, but we just had a bunch of firefighters from South Africa hit the ground running in Edmonton about a week and a half ago, so hopefully they can help get a control on our blazes.
That's good. You know, what I like is that, when we have fires, you have people from all over the world chipping in and helping, and that's really good.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
That's good. The pretty one, she's the only pretty one here today. Fee, what's going on with you, girl?
We've had a lovely week, but the heat has been a bit much. Remember, I'm British. We're not used to it. We're used to clouds and rain and being cold. So people have had to be a bit, and we don't have air conditioning in our houses. So yeah, it's a bit much sometimes. And we've had some quite epic thunderstorms, and I think we're due some more tomorrow or Monday, or maybe even tonight. We'll see. Who knows quite when they'll start. Yeah, I've been doing some various bits and pieces to do with church and some singing things, and yeah, it's been a good week.
Wonderful. Sally boy, what's going on?
Well, talking from the last episode, I was locked in the village and I'm back to city. And yeah, the weather is like really good, like 25 degrees Celsius. I don't know how much is the Fahrenheit, but it's really good weather today. It's on last Saturday. Well, since I'm settled down here in the city, I'm back to focusing on accessible Android and things are going well here.
Good. And you guys are drying out, right?
Yeah.
Good. John, what's going on?
It's been a pretty good week. Haven't been up to much, just the usual. Looking forward to next week, though. I'm supposed to be getting the Pixel tablet, so stay tuned for an unboxing of that at some point.
So the tablet is going to be coming out, but it seems like the folds are kind of getting like some kind of a delay. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get mine on time or not, but it seems like Google is kind of running into, inventory problems.
Yeah, my date keeps changing. It told me the 28th, and then it told me like July's 10th or something, and now it's back to the 28th. So I don't know what's going on.
Wow.
I guess we'll find out eventually.
Yeah. It's going to take away the anxiousness from me to where I'm about to jettison it and say, hey, forget it. Yeah, I want this thing, and you guys are playing games. I don't want it anymore. So I don't know. Austin, are you still waiting for yours? What's going on with you?
I'm not waiting for anything. So the cyclone has come from Arabian Sea into India. It passed through India now it's entered Pakistan. So the winds on Thursday, Wednesday, the winds were picking up this week, and we were given alerts of the cyclone. Most of the effect is in a neighboring state called Gujarat. So the winds here has been 155 to 175 kilometers an hour. So I don't know how many miles that will be. And we were given half day from office on Thursday. So no rain actually this year. I don't know what is wrong. There's no pressure or something to the rain. It just falls for 2 minutes, 5 minutes. By this time, India should have been, at least Mumbai should have been drenched in rain. But this year there's no rain because of the cyclone. The monsoon has got delayed. So nothing much, very scary situation, a lot of wind. It's still a little windy here and it's hot like ever. So it's sitting nice in the air condition and recording this show.
Talking about scary, Austin, you mentioned on our Telegram group, like the wind was kind of tearing some portion of your house, or what was going on there?
Yeah, so it tore the outer portion of the house where all the gardening stuff and all those things are kept. So there is a roof that is made of tin. I don't know what that is called in English. For our Indian listeners, it is called patra. So that thing just tore out. So that has been a very disappointing thing, and it could not be fixed. So now it's still windy, so it might just go away again. So we are not fixing it at the moment, at least.
Well, at least you still have your house, and you are in the house where it's not torn up. So that's
there's no
good.
damage. There's no damage to the internal house.
Great. Well, welcome, guys, to episode 132. I can't believe that we've reached 132.
This is Android Basics, in which we bring you up to date on the things that you should know to use your Android phone.
Let's then move on along to our next segment, and we're talking about our Android Basics segment. And we're talking about the ones I mentioned. We're talking about the fixes that the QPR3 brought along with it, and we're also talking about some of the new features, and we'll be touching a little bit also on Android 14 Beta 3.1. Let's get started. John, are you excited about QPR3? Because this is something that, whether one was enrolled in the QPR program or not, if you have a Pixel device, of course, you get that feature drop for June, and you don't have to be part of the QPR. But so we come to the close of that QPR program.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not excited about it. But that's just because my Pixel right now is in the Android 14 beta, and my main phone is my Samsung phone, so I'm not gonna really get to play around with this stuff too much.
Yeah, and some of the QPR things, though, part of them are also in the Android 14. Let's go ahead, though, and talk about some of the fixes or the categories of the fixes that came along with this June feature drop. And of course, we're talking about if you have Pixel 4a, 4a 5G, Pixel 5, Pixel 5a, Pixel 6 series, 6 Pro, and the A, and then the Pixel 7 series. That's where you get this. And if you have something else, this is not for you. But, occasionally, manufacturers like Samsung also has their own stuff that they will drop or, get some features from here. And I think Samsung just pushed out something, especially the June update with some camera fixes. So if you have a Samsung, you are not left out in the cold. You're being taken care of. But let's talk about the categories that got fixed in this feature drop. We got audio, we got battery, Bluetooth, camera, display and graphics, we got framework, sensors, we got system, then we have telephony, so having to do with the phone and all of that. We got the user interface, and in these, there are some 18 fixes. And I think we ought to kind of list some of these fixes, here. And they include adding option to display animation, for pin entry on lock screen. This one has brought that alongside with it. And fix for issues causing app titles to occasionally appear truncated or cut off. That also got a fix. There was a fix of causing certain groups notifications to appear rounded at the corners. That got a fix. There's also a fix that causes tinting or shading over app drawn in certain conditions, and that got fixed. There's also a fix for an occasional causing device to become unresponsive. And we've heard of some of these things especially on our mailing list, where some people say something is not responding or unlocking can be very iffy. That also got a fix. There's also a fix for that occasional cause that the keyboard basically causes the keyboard to not appear when navigating to the let's say I want to go, search for something. Sometimes the keyboard doesn't pop up. That also got a fix. There's a fix for the occasional lock screen notifications. I don't use notifications on my lock screen, but there are people who do. And sometimes that problem was causing things to overlap with the lock screen icons. That got fixed. There's also a fix for the occasional cause the screen lock to display a charging status when there's even not like your power plugged in or whatever, but it says I'm charging when it is not. So, and like these things are not always for everyone. Like in other words, it's not everyone observing that, but maybe enough people had those problems to where they push out those fixes. So if you've not been seeing that, it doesn't mean it didn't happen with some people. So that is fixed. There's also a fix here for the occasional cause where the notifications area tend to appear hidden or blank in notification shade, and that got fixed. And then there's an occasional fix where it causes notifications to overlay outside the bounds of the notification shade. And, sometimes some of these things, like I said, are visuals. Those of us who are blind may not be seeing those things, but those with sight can see those things. Then we got a fix for issue occasionally causing volume controls pan to cut off at the bottom. Let's say you're navigating, you want to see what all the volume control has. Sometimes some people have noticed that there's a cutoff at the bottom, so you're not seeing all the features. That also got fixed. We got a fix for the occasional cause where the wallpaper tends to disappear when opening or closing notification shade. That got fixed. We got another fix for the occasional prevention of the keyboard from displaying when notification shade is expanded. I don't know what that means, but like I said, some of these things I don't see those on my own, but I guess someone or a lot of people see it enough to where Google had to push those updates for. Then we got fixes for occasional mobile networks. Sometimes the icon from the display area kind of like it disappears in the status bar. So that got fixed. There's also a fix for the occasional prevention of the quick settings button that kind of failed to respond when people touch on them. I haven't observed that, but some people have. So let's say you pull down your quick panel and you want to tap on something and it's not responding. That also got fixed. That's a fix for issue occasionally preventing the quick settings from expanding. Say you want to expand your quick settings or quick panel. For us, we swipe from right to left to expand to move to page 2 or page 3. And I've heard some people talk about the fact that they were not able to do that on our mailing list. So maybe some of these people are the people that were affected. You now have that fix. There's also a fix for the occasional work profile account onboarding to begin during first setup. So, if you have different profiles set up on your device, sometimes that kind of gets a little bit iffy. And so Google fixed that. Then fix to improve lock screen touch. Sometimes people have some sensitivity problems, and that also got fixed to where it now works better. And so those are some of those things that got fixed there. Then we got the Wi-Fi, which is another category that got fixed. And that will be the things that got fixed, though, for these fixes. So like I said, in all the 30 of them. And does anyone want to make any comment about these ones or something here that you like to talk about, before we move to new features?
I don't have a comment myself, but I feel like if Ed were here, he would say, of course everything was broken because it was a pixel.
Yeah, but everyone knows Ed is a knucklehead.
No, but everything is broken
won't
because
disagree
it's a
with
Fisher
that.
price. It's a Fisher price.
Austin got it. It's because it's a Fisher price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ed would not
Fisher
have called
price.
it a pixel. He would have called it Fisher price.
Exactly. But what can we say? It's Ed. And Austin seems to be kind of following in Ed's, footsteps, always having this, whatever.
Yeah, because I have to follow him because we are a member of Commonwealth.
Yeah. You're trying to be an antagonist, and yet in the same breath, you can't wait to get a pixel. That's an oxymoron.
I cannot wait to get a pixel so that I can complain about it.
Austin, your statement about being part of the Commonwealth, so you have to be on Ed's side.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I have to
fallacy.
be on Ed's side.
That's a fallacy.
I have to be at the side of all the Britishers.
But that's a fallacy because I'm in a part of the Commonwealth and I'm not on Ed's side.
So then Canada should be removed out of the Commonwealth.
Canada should be taken out of the Commonwealth. If Canada is taken out of the Commonwealth, then the Commonwealth is broken. They won't have money.
I'm not on Ed's side either. Just saying.
And that's a problem because you're in Ed's territory.
Yeah.
I'm in London as well. Yeah. So
I'm in both Ed's and Fish territory.
Yes. So maybe you half agree with him and you half agree with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what about actual features though, like that are real rather than joking about pixels?
So before the actual features, I wanted to make a comment that Google has fixed all the categories in, like when you're building a ROM, this is the order of the folders of the source code. So Google has fixed all the categories in the source code. And for those of you who were in the QPR program, this is your best time to sign out of the program so that your data is not wiped. Because if you don't sign out, then Google might push you into the Android 14 QPR program.
Let's move on to the new features that come along with the Pixel drop. And the first one, though, has to do with emojis. You guys tend to like emojis. I know Austin does like emojis, and my friend Alan in Malaysia loves emojis. I don't care about them, but we got the emoji and cinematic wallpapers that come to us from the emoji or whatever workshop, and then we also have those wallpapers that gives you that experience. You can create things like the regular 2D into 3D and all of that. You guys like doing emojis? Fee, do you like emojis?
Emojis, yes. Wallpapers, don't care. Can't see them. I want an emoji of a man digging a hole. I think for some conversations I'm involved in, I think that would be appropriate.
I can see how a man can be digging a hole, but by golly, I don't think I want that kind of an emoji.
I think it'd be. I've had various conversations where I've thought, why is this not a thing? I want this as an emoji, a man digging a hole. And then I'll just write, stop now,
Yeah. And these things, they are AI powered and all of that. So AI is everywhere. So if you like men digging, you could like this one. Get your digger out and be able to know how to dig, right? Fee?
I'm not even. Oh dear. Okay, I like things like emojis, like smiley faces, or doing thumbs up and heart shapes and things. I do like them, but I usually just use one or two. Some people they'll send you a message and it'll be just a load of different emojis, like whoa, what? And it gets a bit much. But yeah, I like them, but I'm not massively bothered about them. But I would probably use them. As I say, if there was a man digging a hole one, I'd use that all the time, right? But
I love that. I never heard of that till today because I'm not an emoji kind of person.
Well, there isn't one as far as I know. Although, if one of the listeners says finds there is one, please, get in touch, tell us, because I want to know. But wallpapers, I guess, my mum has one on her main screen of their cat that she's died, unfortunately, but she has the cat on her screen, so she knows it's her phone and stuff. If you're blind, it doesn't really add much to the experience, really, does it? So
yeah, I'm right there with you. I use emojis to talk in conversations, but I have no interest in having them on my home screen. I have a little bit of vision, but I just set my background to be boring, plain black so that I can tell where my icons are. If there's any sort of picture to it or anything, it just makes it more difficult for me. So yeah, I don't even have any interest in that either.
But yeah, wallpapers and emojis are different things, and I think it's important to maybe you can use emojis within wallpapers, I don't know, but they are two different things.
Yeah. For me, my wallpaper is just a boring Google Blue. The next one has to do with macro focus video. Now, this has been a Pixel 7 Pro exclusive feature, but Google is updating the camera app to let you record video using its macro mode. And so this is something that also has come to other phones, that you can truly get absolutely stunning good looking close-up pictures and videos and things like that. So it's no longer an exclusive to the Pixel 7. So like I said, some of these things are not necessarily for us, but we do participate in pictures and videos as well. So John, don't you like taking pictures? I like taking pictures.
Yeah, I didn't care too much about it until I had a son, and now I'm taking pictures of him and recording videos of him, mostly to share with other people. But yeah, so any camera improvements I'm happy with. I mean, if it means that as long as a lot of it's automatic, like if I get, for example, if this macro mode kicks in, if I'm too close to something I'm recording and I don't realize it, I can't see that it's getting blurry. If that macro mode kicks in and all of a sudden it's recording clear, even though I'm really close to something, that's a huge bonus for me because I don't know how anything's going to come out when I'm recording a video. I just point my phone over there and hope I get it. And then when I share it later on to somebody sighted, I'll find out if I got it or not.
Yeah, if it helps us to be able to take better videos, that would be good. I don't do it often because it would just be things like I'm in the garden. Yeah, it would be good if it makes it so that when we do want to video something, it makes a better video. So John, you can tell us as you use this more, maybe whether it's helped you. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. The next one though has to do with it has to be a Pixel 6 or later, and it's the palm timer. So you can use your palm to do those selfies. Time. Set it as a timer to where you could raise your palm, and it will start the timer for either 3 or 10 seconds. And basically, Google says you can raise your palm to say I'm ready. I don't know. So you kind of have to set that phone on like a tripod or whatever. You want to take a selfie, or maybe you have a bunch of a bunch of others with you and things like that. But so it's a nice feature to have because sometimes you got to hold the phone and try to stretch your your arm and maybe say, hey, cheese, or whatever command you can give it. But I can see how useful this can be if you have a tripod and you put it on that tripod and just simply raising up your palm to say, take that picture. I see that as a very good thing.
Just remember to bring your palm down after the timers. So
Yeah.
it won't be a very good picture.
Yeah, does it give you a few seconds once you've raised your palm? Because otherwise you just have a load of
3 to
pictures.
10. You can set it up for 10 seconds or 3 seconds.
Because otherwise you'd have a load of photos with your hand in the air, like.
Yeah.
Do you think you can change it? Like, because sometimes if it's raising your palm, like 10 seconds is too long. Everyone's like, hasn't it done it yet?
Exactly.
Can you change it to 5 seconds or 3 seconds or something?
Yeah, you can. So it's between 3 and 10 seconds. So you choose.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, between 3 and 10 seconds.
Oh, very good.
The next one has to do with the Google car crash safety check. And I particularly like this because, you can basically, what you can do is schedule a safety check. In other words, say I'm driving to Idaho, for example, and, I could schedule a safety check, say, every hour or whatever, do a safety check with my people back home, and it will let them know where I'm at. So I kind of like that whole idea, and or most especially if you have someone that they're not very sound in mind or whatever, you could set this thing up with them, so you're having that checkup on them to be sure that they're doing well as they travel, or something like that. I like that idea.
So if I've got, I don't know, my dad, say, it wouldn't be because he's got an iPhone, but say if I was doing this with my dad, what kind of a message would I get? Would it have his location and his speed or something, or what does it send you? Or is it a text message, or do you have to have a certain app, or what? How does it work?
That has to do with notifying the people, like if you're traveling, for example, it will let them know, hey, okay, you are now approaching this area, and it shows them your real-time location, so they are in tune with you. Like you mentioned your dad, for example, say maybe he's traveling from London to some place, and you want to, know that, hey, dad is approaching this XYZ place and all of that. So you could set that, and to where it would tell you if you want it either hourly or, half hour, whatever. It all depends on how you want it. But or you can say, hey, check on this. Let me know where he's at, and it will do that.
So is it within an app, or how does it send you the message?
It'll be in the safety area.
In your
settings, you will find that in there. Yeah.
Oh, and presumably then it would just come up as a notification from settings or from safety or something.
Yeah.
If it did it every hour or something, you would get a notification.
How you want it to, because like, for example, when my wife was traveling to Ohio, my wife and my daughter traveling to Ohio last summer, we had that location, sharing turned on, and I can just bring up, tap on her name in my contacts, and, it will show me where she's at, driving, there at so-and-so place. But so things like that. I think it's a very good idea, because, nowadays you never know what could happen.
And presumably she has to give, or whoever you're tracking has to give permission.
Yes.
And say, yes, it's okay. Yeah. You can't just do it without someone's consent unless you're a really dodgy person. You shouldn't do that without someone's consent. That's not cool.
No. It's someone will share. You share it with the people. So you got to initiate that.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know, because I think for listeners as well, because they might have people in their family and want to make, check if their journey's going okay without keep messaging them all the time and stuff. So yeah.
So yeah, I just have one question for you, Warren. Why the hell are you driving to Idaho?
Yeah, good question.
Well, I love Idaho, though. It's our neighbor. And
but why are you driving? Are you doing what the political advisor in this country did when he had COVID in the lockdown in 2020, where he drove a car to test his eyesight?
When he couldn't see well. Well, I'm just giving an example. Well, I wouldn't be driving,
The laws in Idaho are very relaxed.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're 3 years old or higher, you can drive.
Exactly.
Get away with driving in there.
I was gonna say, the state probably doesn't care if you're driving, but I think everyone else might.
I have to first get out of Washington first, though, and then.
It ain't hard.
What I like is that my Google Maps will tell me you're now entering the state of Idaho. The next one has to do with, car crash emergency. You know how that, the car crash emergency sharing used to be that it shares it with your, like emergency workers. Now you have the ability to also have your family or whoever you want to be notified in the event of a crash. And so I think that's a good thing to have. Just besides, having the emergency workers, you can also include a family member.
Yeah, presumably you set that up beforehand so that if you have a crash, it messages
you
them
set
or something.
that up. So it will let them know, hey, your loved one just crashed. It gives you the location.
Warren just crashed his car. He didn't even get to Idaho.
Yeah, exactly. That Google car. I can't wait for that, though.
Yeah.
The next one has to be the redesigned Google Home on the lock screen. And we talked about this a little bit last week. And actually, we spent a little bit of time on it. I shouldn't say a little bit. We actually spent some time on it with some of the things. Now, you can now have better control of items relating to your home controls, such as, say you want to do your house locks or, cameras, etc. You now have the ability of better managing those in this drop. Next item, talk about recorder. The Google recorder, get those speaker labels, something that was talked about a little while ago. Now, finally, it's here with this feature drop, and it's one of those new features. So in other words, if you're using the Google recorder and doing some recording, like we're recording right now, for example, if we were using that Google recorder, it should be able to label what speaker is saying what and things like that. So I kind of like that whole idea. Does anyone find that useful?
So if you're recording a meeting, you mean? So it would. I don't know what you mean, really. Label the speakers.
That's exactly what he means. Like if say you're in a meeting and you want to record it, you just hit record on your phone. It'll transcribe everything that's being said, and it'll recognize that people are different from each other, and it'll say like speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, and then you can go in later and change the names of the speakers.
So would it write it out for you almost like a script? You know, like
yes.
Warren, I like driving to Idaho.
Exactly.
John, that's probably a bad idea. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Transcription service.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's both. It records the actual audio for you, and
but then it transcribes.
Yeah, exactly.
Afterwards.
So the next one, though, and I don't know why this didn't come to other phones, but we're talking about smarter haptics on the Pixel 6a and 7a. You know, this came with the 7a, and now these other phones have it, but I don't know why this is only limited to this the 6a and the 7a. Why not bring it to the 7 Pro or the regular 7? And so we're talking about these haptics that, you know, if your phone is on the table and it vibrates, it knows it's on the table, so it's not going to make too much noise. And I really like that, because sometimes you're in a meeting and someone's phone on the table and it makes such awful vibration.
Because the 7A has the sensor for that. It has the sensor to judge where the phone is, so it's using AI.
Exactly.
And the 6A has a sensor, but the others don't.
And so it's just very interesting that these phones have that. And, you know, my very expensive 7 Pro doesn't have it.
I don't understand what sensor it has that needs it. I mean, all these phones have accelerometers. They know that they're not moving and that they're laying flat on a table. So I'm a little confused, just like you, Warren. I don't understand why you couldn't have implemented this in all the Pixel phones, really.
So it has some depth sensor in the camera. It knows that it's on a surface, or what type of surface it is. It's depth camera versus and plus AI.
Well, it's got microphones as well, so surely if it was vibrating and it was really loud, it would go, "Oh, that's a bit loud. I'll go quiet. I'll vibrate a bit more quietly."
It would not know that it's on a surface.
Well, yeah, it would, because the sound would vibrate in the wood of the table.
Oh, so are you saying it uses the depth sensor to know if it's on a hard surface?
Yeah, the depth sensor that it knows it's on a surface. Yeah.
Sounds a bit overkill.
That makes a little more sense.
I paid like $1,100 for my godforsaken phone. It should have that stuff. You know what I mean? And, you know, lousy Pixel 6a or lousy Pixel 7a having that, and I don't have it. Come on, man.
Well, I once had a phone that vibrated off a high shelf into the bath, and this was in the days before waterproof phones. That was a sad day.
And that one would be gone with the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, falling in water, it's gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Nowadays, it would be okay. You could dry your phone as long as it was a, high-end phone, and it would be all right. But not sort of 5 or 6 years ago. That was, it was playing music and then it wasn't, and that was bad.
The next item is the adaptive charging. So it's getting more adaptive, so to speak. So your Pixel phone now has that adaptive charging that we used to have, but it's better. It uses the Google AI now to predict when a long charging session is about to start based on your previous charging habits and things like that. So if it detects such a session, it will kick in during your charging. So I like that.
Is what's new to this, it's just the AI part? Because before it would know, like, if you had adaptive battery turned on and you had your alarm set for 7, it would know, okay, I'm just going to charge to 85%, and then
Yeah.
or whatever, and then like at 6:30 I'm going to start slowly charging so that when his alarm goes off it'll be fully charged. But I'm assuming now it'll use AI and it'll say like, this guy never uses an alarm, but he seems to always get up at 7, so I'm going to start topping off his
Exactly.
battery at 6:30. Okay, gotcha.
And so the goal here is to extend the lifespan, of your battery. That's the goal here, because whether we believe it or not, just putting that thing on there and go to bed and, the thing is full and it's just sitting there, it's not very good for my battery. So I like the fact that we're having these type of things to, make battery works better for us. And talking about battery, did you guys read something about the European Union saying, hey, people need to be able to replace their batteries? And frankly, I like what the Europeans are doing. I can't wait to see us having those removable batteries again. It may
that
not
would be
happen
great.
soon, but yeah, I would love to see that come back.
Because it was a lot cheaper apart from anything else. And also you could actually have a spare battery for your phone. Like if you knew you were going away for a weekend camping or something, you could charge up both batteries before you went and take them both,
Yeah.
So the battery removal, it was cheaper, but some people, at least in India, they used to use very duplicate low quality batteries to put in their phones, and that would explode. So that then
well,
they would
that's
say
their fault.
then they would say that the company is causing the phones to explode and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, but it always used to say only use batteries made by our company. So if people don't do that, that's stupid. That's their own fault.
Or it will say something, use those approved by the company.
Yeah.
So if I don't follow that, then you have nothing to blame the company for.
No, that's just silly, isn't it?
So Indians, you quit doing that.
Yeah.
You're just muddying the water.
They should bring back the removable battery, but then they should set some sensor or something inside that the phone would not boot up when a person uses unapproved batteries.
I don't think people are going to like that. No, I don't think people are going to like that.
I just think people just need to stop being silly.
Yeah.
People don't, you can't look after everyone against being silly. If people are going to do stupid things.
Yeah, you should have the right to use whatever battery you want. If you want to make the choice
you want your phone to blow up,
get a cheap battery, you just can't blame the company. That's the only thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So the last item here, one of the 10 new features will be the new 2 voices that came to the Google Assistant. And I'm not sure if this is only in the US or not, but, we have 2 new voices that, debuted on the Assistant. I know they had it before, maybe a week before the feature drop came through, but we now have that. Those 2 new voices. I haven't tried them myself.
Oh, we need a demo for the podcast, Warren.
Yeah, we probably should, but probably it's a lousy voice anyway. You know what I mean?
We don't know yet. We haven't tried it. And even if it's lousy, we want to hear. We want to know.
Yeah.
It's a request from me, and I am a storm. I could sneeze you away, remember?
You could take away my phone.
If you don't do as I ask, bad things might happen. So
What are the voices called?
Well, you know how Google now doesn't want to,
colors.
genderize. I think it's a green one and something else. Yeah, one of them is green.
You should do a quick demo.
It's called lemon and something. It's called
lemon.
I think
maybe. I think it's lemon and green. I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, lemon and
color.
I forgot the other name.
Does the lemon one sound really sour then?
Yeah, it's the lemon and green colors.
I got them right here. If you want to hear them.
Yeah. Let's do that, John.
So they're lime and indigo.
There we go.
So that's completely wrong, then. It's not a lemon.
It was a fruit. You had that right.
Forget about lemon.
So I'm going to demonstrate the 2 new voices. One is lime and one's indigo. This is lime.
Here are the voices you can pick for your Google Assistant. If you like this voice and want me to keep using it, just stop here.
And here's
Oh
anything.
no.
Here are the voices you can pick for your Google Assistant. If you like this voice and want me to keep using it, just stop here.
Now, I haven't talked about what the feature drop has. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Android 14 Beta 3.1. And there's nothing major here. The whole idea is that the last update before this little patch update messed up, especially the Pixel 6 series fingerprint reader, and that's why they pushed this one out, but they pushed it out to everyone. But so it's exclusively was meant to be something that fixed that problem for the Pixel 6 series fingerprint reader, and that's why we have that little patch of the Android 14 Beta 3.1. So if you have a Pixel 6 series and you are observing that problem, this Beta 3.1 should have fixed that. That's what it was intended for, but it got pushed out to everybody. And now the G Show, or what Austin refers to as the Joshua Screen Reader, aka Commentary Screen Reader, CSR. This is where some feature of this screen reader is demonstrated. Let's move on now to our next segment. And this week we're talking about the CSR, the Commentary Screen Reader entry. And our friend Kareen brings us the entry for this week and has to do with media controls, how you can manage your media controls by simply using a gesture. Here's Kareen now to show us how to go about setting that feature up.
Hi. Joshua Screen Reader goes beyond basic screen reading tasks with its additional features, such as timers, translation, and media playback controls. With Joshua, you can conveniently go to next or previous track, fast forward or rewind, and play or pause media. All of this is done without the need to be in the media player window. I will assign gestures to those functions. I'll go to Joshua settings from the main menu.
Main menu. Joshua settings.
Then general settings.
General settings.
I should make sure that use custom gestures is checked.
Use custom gestures checkbox checked.
Then I'll tap on custom gesture scheme settings.
Custom gesture scheme settings. Custom.
If you are using a different gesture scheme or a per app gesture scheme, to add the gestures, you go to operation settings. By default, the gesture to the play or pause function is double tapping with 2 fingers. This function is used to pause and play media as well as to answer calls. The same function is available in Talkback. I will show you how to assign a gesture for the next media. I'll select the swiping down with 3 fingers.
Swipe down with 3 fingers.
And I'll tap on function.
Function unchecked. Function.
I'll
enter keyword
search,
text box.
And I'll start typing the first letters of the word media.
N, M, M, E, E, D, D.
I'll look above the keyboard for the matching functions.
Previous media. Next media.
I can swipe between them. Next media. This is the one that I want. I'll double tap.
Custom.
Let's see.
Swipe down with 3 fingers next media function.
You do the same for the previous media. I've already assigned a gesture. Play or pause, previous media and next media can be activated also from the main menu. Regarding the fast forward and rewind functions, unfortunately, their names are still in Chinese and they are not added to the functions list. So to be able to use them, you have to create a new function. Basically, it's an auto-click. So if you have the Chinese name, you can put it after the %sign after creating a new auto-click and then save, and Joshua will do the formatting. To make things easier, I will include the already created functions. So what you have to do is to create a new function, not an auto-click, a new function, and paste the functions there. I'll tap on More Options.
More Options button.
And create a new function.
Create a new function. Text box.
I will call it Rewind. You can call it whatever you want.
Browse by touch suspended. R-E-W-I-N-D. Browse by touch
And
resume. OK button.
I'll tap OK.
Saved.
I will paste the auto-click.
Close. Text box. If service dot click %. Huaitui. Return true and return true text box.
The function name is also still in Chinese. And I'll tap Save.
Save button. Saved. Back button.
I'll go back.
Custom.
And I will assign a gesture to the rewind function that I've created. Let it be swipe left with 3 fingers.
Swipe left with 3 fingers. Skip. Swipe left with 3 fingers.
After the function and apps and plugins, I have the list of created functions.
Rewind unchecked. Custom.
This is the rewind. I double tapped. I created a function for the fast forward in the same way, and I'll assign the swiping right with 3 fingers to it.
Swipe right with 3 fingers flash. Swipe right with 3 fingers.
It is called fast forward.
Fast forward unchecked. Custom.
Let's see now.
Swipe up with 4 fingers. Swipe right with 3 fingers fast forward. Swipe left with 3 fingers rewind. Swipe down with 3 fingers next media function. Swipe up with 3 fingers previous media function.
I don't need to tap save. When I go out of the window, it will save.
Saved.
I have a track in Gone Mad, which is paused. I'll use the double tap with 2 fingers to play it.
Play Store.
To pause, the same gesture. I'll play again. I'll go now to the next track, swiping down with 3 fingers. Next again. Previous. As you were able to notice, I wasn't in the Gone Mad window when I performed the gestures. And also I can perform them from the lock screen. Most media players support those functions, including YouTube. But the fast forward and rewind are supported by less applications. For example, in YouTube, the fast forward and rewind will not work. But in Gone Mad and VLC, the functions will work normally. Let's try them. I'm in Gone Mad. I'll play again. I'll swipe right with 3 fingers. Left with 3 fingers. Of course, it's possible to assign those functions to volume key presses from the operation settings than shortcut key settings. But because the fast forward and rewind are not included until now in the list of available functions, you have to make them as extensions to be able to use them with volume keys. This was the media playback controls feature in the show. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Kareen. Even though you're not here with us today, you shared your little trick there with us. And if you're a CSR user, take advantage of that. And now, the native screen reader for Android. This is a segment we refer to as Talkback Highlights. This is where some feature of the screen reader is demonstrated. And now, saving the best for last, this is the Talkback Highlights. And of course, John shows us some of the new things that have dawned on us from Talkback 14. And now, here's John to show us some of those new features in the Talkback Highlights.
Hi, John here, and for today's installment of Talkback Highlights, I'm going to be demonstrating the new Braille keyboard gestures in Talkback 14. Talkback 14 was included with Android 14 Beta 3, so it's not yet available in the Play Store, but when it is, it should be available for all devices, no matter which version of Android it's running. So the first thing I'm going to discuss is the new granularity controls. So previously, you could not change the granularity from within the keyboard. You would have to leave, change the granularity, and come back into the keyboard. And the only two granularities you had were characters and words. Now, however, you can navigate by characters, words, lines, or paragraphs by swiping up or down with one finger. And in order to change the granularity, you just swipe left or right with 3 fingers. So I'm in a text box right now, and the granularity is set to characters, so I'm going to swipe right with 3 fingers.
Words.
That increases the granularity. I'm going to go a couple more times.
Lines. Paragraphs.
Now I'm at the beginning of the field now. I'm going to swipe down to go forward 1 paragraph to see what we have typed already.
There are now many new gestures in the Talkback Braille keyboard.
Now I'm going to swipe down again.
You can use these gestures to move the cursor, select text, and perform clipboard functions. End of field.
So that's just a quick demonstration of how to use the new granularity system. However, there are a lot of different gestures for specific things, so I'm going to show you the gesture for moving to the beginning of the field or the end of the field. So to do this, you're going to hold dots 4 and 5 and swipe up or down. So if you want to go to the beginning of the field, you swipe up. If you want to go to the end of the field, you swipe down. So I'm holding dots 4 and 5 right now, and I'm going to swipe up to go to the beginning of the field.
There are now many new gestures in the Talkback Braille keyboard. You can use these gestures to move the cursor, select text, and perform clipboard functions. Beginning of field.
So it read all the text between where my cursor was and the beginning of the field, and let me know I'm now at the beginning of the field. Of course, I was at the end of the field, so it read all the text. Now I'm going to show you how you can navigate by characters, words, or lines. So if you hold dot 6 and swipe up or down, that will navigate by characters. If you hold dot 5 and swipe up or down, that will navigate by words. If you hold dot 4 and swipe up or down, that will navigate by lines. So we're at the beginning of the field. I'm going to hold dot 4, and I'll swipe down. That will read 1 line.
There are now many new gestures in the Talkback Braille keyboard.
So I swiped down twice, so you heard 2 lines. And now I'm going to hold dot 5 and swipe a few times just to go by words.
You can use.
And now I'm going to hold dot 6 and swipe a few times to go by characters.
Space. T. H. E. Echo.
So that's how you'll navigate by characters, words, or lines. I'm going to go back to the beginning of the field.
There are now many new gestures in the Talkback Braille keyboard. You can use the beginning of field.
So let's say I wanted to add a word here. Say I wanted, instead of just saying new gestures, I want to say cool new gestures. I'm going to navigate by words,
There are now many new.
So I'm going to go back one word to get to the beginning of new.
New.
I'm going to type cool and put a space.
COOL. Cool.
So I'm going to go back to the beginning of the field.
There are now many cool beginning of field.
So it read everything between the cursor and the beginning of the field, so I know it's now changed. Now I'm going to show you how to select text. These gestures are the same as navigating, but you'll swipe with 2 fingers instead of 1 finger. So let's say I decide I don't want to use the word cool, but I want to say useful. So I'm going to hold .5 and I'm going to swipe down.
There are
until
now
I get to the word
many.
cool.
Cool.
Now I'm going to swipe up with 2 fingers to select the word cool, because right now the cursor is after the word cool.
Cool selected.
And now I'll just type useful.
Cool deleted. SEFUL.
So I'm going to go back to the beginning.
Useful. There are now many useful beginning of field.
So this is what we have now.
There are now many useful new gestures in the Talkback Braille keyboard. You can use these gestures to move the cursor, select text, and perform clipboard functions. End of field.
So, lastly, I'm going to show you how to use clipboard functions. So, if you want to select all, you're going to hold .4 and swipe left with 3 fingers.
Selected text. There are now many useful new gestures in the Talkback Braille keyboard. You can use these gestures to move the cursor, select text, and perform clipboard functions.
And for copy, if you want to copy the text, you hold .4 and swipe down with 3 fingers.
Copied. There are now many useful new gestures in the Talkback Braille keyboard. You can use these gestures to move the cursor, select text, and perform clipboard functions. Copied to clipboard.
And if you want to cut instead of copy, you will swipe up with 3 fingers while you're holding .4. I'm not going to do that because I've already copied the text. However, I will delete the text since it's selected.
Cleared text.
And now I'll show you the last clipboard function, which of course is paste, and that is to hold .4 and swipe right with 3 fingers.
Functions.
It just said the last word, but it pasted all the text that I had just copied. So that concludes the demonstration, but there are 3 things that I wanted to mention. The first thing I wanted to mention is that all of these gestures where you hold one dot and swipe are reversible. So if you prefer to swipe with your right hand rather than your left hand, you can replace anytime I said .4 with .1, and anytime I said .5 or .6 with .2 or 3. So that's an option if it's easier for you that way. Second, I wanted to mention that you have to hold each dot for basically a full second before you swipe. So if you quickly press .5 and swipe to go to the next word, it won't work unless you've held .5 for about a full second before you swipe. So that's something that you're going to have to get used to. And the third thing I wanted to mention is that anytime you use a gesture where you hold a dot and navigate by characters, words, or lines, that changes the granularity to whatever you navigated by. So if, like me, you get the bright idea to just set your granularity to paragraphs, that way you can navigate by paragraphs by swiping up and down with 1 finger, and use all the other gestures to navigate by character, words, and lines, that's not going to work for you, because as soon as you use a gesture like, for example, holding .6 and swiping to move by character, that will change your granularity to characters. So at that point, if you swiped up or down with one finger, that will move the cursor by a character. All right, I hope this has been informative and helpful. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for that, John. And of course, we're hoping to see more features come to Talkback, maybe sometime next month or sometime in the fall, when we get Pixel 8 and all of that. So we're looking forward to great things, from Talkback, and who knows what we can and may not get. It is curtain drawing time, thus we come to the end of today's episode, and up next we give you information on how to get hold of us. And that brings us to the close of this week's episode. As always, we enjoy hearing from you guys, and of course, Austin is standing by to give you that information on how to get hold of us.
To contact us, you can send an email to contactus@blindandroidusers.com. You can join our mailing list by sending an email to blindandroidusers plus subscribe at groups.io. You can join our Telegram, Facebook, Discord, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. The links for everything will be at the bottom of the show notes and also in the video description of the YouTube channel. And also the links are in the websites panel of the YouTube channels.
Thank you so much for that, Austin. And we come to the end of the episode. And from me, I want to say goodbye and thank you so much for tuning in to us every week.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Blind Android Users Podcast. Until we see you next week, don't forget to leave us your comments and suggestions via our email contact or using any of our social media sites. Have a great week.